What is up? Good mic work. Back at you. WWE Payback 2017 is in the books. What a strange feeling pay-per-view that was. I'll tell you what, this pay-per-view got a ton of shit on social media. We were all kind of poking fun at it on Twitter. A lot of people seemed bored with the show, but when you look at it, I thought all of the matches from top to bottom, the results of those matches were the proper results. I think the people who should have won did win. They helped further and elevate other storylines in the process in some of these occasions, and it was one of these pay-per-views that didn't feel special, but it felt like the writing team actually took it seriously. So for once, I'm going to praise the balls off the WWE, because I really feel that every single one of these matches had a good outcome or had the right guy winning. And I hate to say, the right guy winning. You know, we all have our opinions who should win or lose, but I felt like this pay-per-view, the results that we saw here are really nothing that I can complain about, even though I only went 4-4 in my predictions. And of course, the main event. I mean, I was ecstatic with the outcome of that main event, because the last thing I really felt like dealing with tonight is Twitter exploding with shit all over my face because Roman Reigns won another fucking match. So I am thrilled that Braun Strowman slayed WWE's poster boy. Don't get too excited, however, because this shit ain't over, and we got Extreme Rules coming up next. And we saw a lot of props and a lot of extracurricular activity going on. We saw stairs and ambulances and everything involved. So don't be surprised if there's some sort of crazy-ass stipulation match at Extreme Rules. Sometimes when I do these pay-per-view reviews, I start with the main event and work backwards, and sometimes I start from the beginning. So why don't we just stay on the subject of Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, since I just mentioned it anyway. Of course, Roman Reigns has been off TV. He's been selling the beatdown from Roman Reigns a few weeks ago on Raw. In my head, I was thinking along the lines of what WWE normally does, and I was thinking we needed to see Roman Reigns come back on Raw prior to Payback and get some revenge. That way, if Braun Strowman wins, it's not like just all one guy, it's all one-sided, and I really thought Roman Reigns was going to win this match. I predicted this match wrong. I wanted Braun Strowman to win, but I didn't think that he would. I thought maybe he would win the next one, because like I said, we're definitely going to get a next one, but instead, he won this one, which is also good. I mean, for fuck's sake, he tipped over a goddamn ambulance with Roman Reigns inside, damn near murdered him on Raw, and Roman Reigns is selling the hell out of the injury. He came out with his shoulder and ribs all taped up and everything, so Braun Strowman was just too much. Not even Roman Reigns could take down this beast after Roman Reigns has already been brutalized by the guy for weeks on TV. He just couldn't get the job done, and I loved that. That was a great outcome. I thought Roman Reigns would somehow find a way to win this match, and it would piss everybody off, and WWE really did the right thing here, and I, for one, have been really impressed with Braun Strowman's in-ring work. I mean, for a big monster like this, he is not horrible, and he continues to surprise me every match he has, and his match, I thought, with Roman Reigns at Fastlane was fantastic, and this one was equally as good. And Braun is for a big guy, he can move around, he can even sell. I mean, he took a great spear near the end of that match. It was one of my favorite spots in the match just because of how he sold the spear and how good it looked. This guy is no fucking joke, man. He can turn it on when he wants to, and I think a showdown with him and Brock in the future might be really fun to watch. And hopefully this win over Roman Reigns helped elevate Braun Strowman into that category, and they don't fuck it all up next month at Extreme Rules. Now, the cool thing about the Extreme Rules match is I just kind of warned the fans, don't get too excited here, because 50-50 booking still exists. That's not going away. And even though they want to push Braun Strowman, they don't want to annihilate Roman Reigns either. So there's got to be a balance there. So the good thing about Extreme Rules is that it is going to be a gimmick match. You know that. It's probably going to be a stairs match. I joked on Twitter because the stairs were a big focal point of the end of this match. So, I would think that that's the match that Roman Reigns will get the victory in. Maybe it's a last man standing. Maybe it's something where Braun Strowman does not have to get pinned. It could be any sort of freaking crazy ass stipulation. Maybe it's an ambulance match. How about that? There's an idea. The way you win that is just by tossing your opponent in an ambulance. Braun Strowman has already been in a dumpster match on Raw a couple of weeks ago, so an ambulance match would make a lot of sense, and Braun Strowman could lose that match without having to be pinned or without submitting. So it could be a good way to get Roman Reigns, quote-unquote, his victory back, but not bury Braun Strowman at the same time. But he put on a hell of a match tonight with Roman Reigns. I mean, Roman did his part too. I mean, you gotta give him credit. I know everybody shits on him and hates him, but he did a hell of a job too, and he sold his ass off for Braun Strowman and took a pretty severe beating. I mean, Braun, he dominated most of this match, not all. Roman Reigns had a few moments in there, but really, at the end, it was just like he was just too much. How did he beat Roman? He hit him with a power slam, right? Another power slam, and eventually pinned him in the middle of the ring. And Strowman was kicking out of spears and shit too, so, I mean, he was looking just as strong. And it wasn't even a funny finish. I mean, they didn't even do interference. They didn't do anything. He just beat the piss out of Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns was still not totally healed from the beatdown a couple of weeks ago, and Strowman was just too much. And what I loved is that they didn't end it there. How awesome was that? So after the match, he continues the assault on Roman Reigns, brings the stairs into the ring, slams him on those a couple of times, and then they're carting Roman Reigns out. I believe he all busted open, right? His mouth is bleeding, and, you know, he's a mess. And they're carting him off, and you're wondering, you're like, shit, it ain't over yet. You know, there's still some time left, you know, before the top of the hour. You got to think that Braun Strowman ain't done. He's going to show back up. And sure enough, as they're loading or walking Roman Reigns to the ambulance, you hear this, I'm not done yet, and he comes running on screen like full speed. Roman Reigns actually ducks out of the way, and Braun Strowman crashes right through the ambulance door and breaks it off backwards, and then flies into a big pile of boxes. It was a hilarious spot. He tries to come back after Roman Reigns, and Roman starts slamming the ambulance door on his head and all this shit. So a real nice little brawl at the end, which I liked, because Braun Strowman is just going completely nuts every single week, and he's just murdering people backstage. So I like the fact that the match kept going after Roman Reigns basically just took the clean loss and got his ass kicked. And he continued to get his ass kicked at the end, and finally getting lucky and dodging this incoming bullet Braun Strowman and having him crash through the ambulance door and the whole deal. So, you know, all in all, it was a pretty fun main event. I thought it was a lot better than the House of Horrors, which I'll talk about in a minute. The fans got the outcome that they want. Braun Strowman looked like a badass. He demolished Roman Reigns and then kicked his ass after the match, and they had a little brawl and a scuffle to set up the next match that these two guys are going to have together. And who knows if they'll have one after that as the blow-off. But all in all, I enjoyed the main event. It was a good, hard-hitting match between two beasts, and they both did great, and I thought this match was just as good as their Fastlane match, for sure. In another match that was smartly booked, even though I thought it was goofy as shit, the House of Horrors match. We finally got to see this thing. This was held in some raggedy-ass house. I did see on Twitter somebody posted a link that it was in Missouri somehow, so they must have pre-taped all this shit in Missouri. You definitely knew it wasn't California because it was completely dark out, and it was only 6:30 here in California when that match was taking place, so you knew it was filmed somewhere, so I guess some shitty-ass house in Missouri. It had all sorts of stuff in it. It was very horror movie-ish. I mean, there was sound effects, there was musical effects, all sorts of lighting effects going on in the house, blinking lights, flashing lights. There's dolls hanging from the ceiling, and there's all sorts of just crazy stuff. These guys are brawling all through the house, tearing it to pieces. They wind up in the kitchen. They're all over the pots and pans and the sink and the refrigerator. Bray Wyatt winds up dumping a refrigerator on top of Randy Orton. And then Randy Orton arrives at this house in a limousine, which is weird. He should be arriving on a tractor or a pickup truck or something. So the limo is out there the whole time. And right after Bray Wyatt knocks over the refrigerator on Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt gets in the limousine and says, "Take me to the arena." And he's singing the song the whole time as the limo is slowly pulling away. So then we had a break, and we got a couple of more matches, and then they cut to backstage later on, and the limousine is pulling back up. And it's arriving to the arena. Bray Wyatt gets out. He comes to the ring, and as the lights are out, when they come back on, Randy Orton is standing there behind him. So Randy Orton figured out a way to get back to the arena at the same time Bray Wyatt did, and he was ready to ambush him with a chair, starts beating the hell out of him, and then the Singh brothers, the Bollywood boys, show up from SmackDown. They attack Randy Orton. He fights them both off, and then Jinder Mahal comes into the ring to get involved as well, allowing Bray Wyatt to hit Randy Orton with Sister Abigail and get the pinfall victory, which is perfect. Bray Wyatt's who I predicted in this match. That is the only outcome that would have made sense here, especially since this match was not for the WWE title. There is no reason to have Randy Orton win this match. All you're going to be doing with that outcome is harming Bray Wyatt. And the way they booked Bray's victory was great because it also elevated or furthered the storyline that's currently going on SmackDown with Jinder Mahal, who stole the WWE title from Randy Orton, and then Randy's defending it against Jinder at Backlash, so that's your next big pay-per-view title match. So I really thought it all tied together nicely, and it gave Bray Wyatt the victory that he needed to have. So it finished off nicely here. I didn't completely hate the House of Horrors match. I understand that wrestling companies have got to try shit sometimes. We've seen stuff like this from Lucha Underground. We saw something similar with Matt Hardy and Brother Nero and all that stuff they were doing in TNA, and they will probably do in WWE soon. We saw the big compound fight between the Wyatt family and New Day. So them doing stuff like this, I know we've seen this in wrestling recently over the last couple of years. So it's really not my thing. It's not my cup of tea, but I didn't hate the match. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. A lot of it was dumb and cheesy and everything like that, but I didn't care. I got the outcome that I wanted. Bray Wyatt won. It was definitely something different, and it wasn't just your run-of-the-mill match. Now Randy Orton will be going to Backlash to take on Jinder Mahal on the SmackDown brand, and that whole thing can get kicked off on SmackDown on Tuesday. The Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins match I really enjoyed as well. I predicted Seth Rollins to win this match. He's got that new finisher now, so I didn't know if he was going to nail Samoa Joe with it and just beat him 1, 2, 3. I didn't want to see Samoa Joe kick out of this thing 3 or 4 times, especially if it's a brand new finisher. I'm not ready to see that quite yet, even though it will happen in the future. But I thought that Seth Rollins was the right guy to win this match. He's been on a roll. He beat Triple H at WrestleMania. And like I said, Joe did dominate a good portion of that match, really focusing on the knee of Seth Rollins. And then at the end, you saw Seth in the Coquina Clutch, and he kind of just rolled through it and countered it into a pinning combination and scored a quick pin on Samoa Joe. So it wasn't even that big of a deal. It didn't harm Samoa Joe. All it did is piss him off, and now they're going to have a rematch. You know, it might be at Extreme Rules as well, and it might be a submission match or something, you know. I wouldn't rule out a cage either. Put these guys in a cage, grudge match, old school. All right, what should we talk about next? Maybe the title changes. We had a couple of title changes. One was a big surprise. Chris Jericho is your new United States champion. He beat Kevin Owens via tap out in the opening match of Payback. I loved this outcome. I mean, we were all being way too confident about it, myself included. If you go back and listen to my predictions video, I spent very little time on this match. Kevin Owens is going to win. Jericho's going to go off and tour with Fozzy, and it makes no sense for him to win the United States title and go over to SmackDown. So Kevin Owens wins this match hands down. That's the end of it, right? I should have known better. I forgot who the fuck we're dealing with here. Jericho is the master of the swerve. He always messes with the fans. I remember when he left the WWE in 2005 when he had that you're fired match or whatever with John Cena. The very next day on Jericho's website, he had a picture of him standing underneath like a TNA banner, like his image imposed on the TNA logo, just to get the fans talking. He was never going to go there. He just wanted to mess with the fans. Remember when he came back and he didn't talk for like 5 weeks or whatever? We all thought Kevin Owens was going to win this match hands down, and with Jericho upsetting him and winning the title back, it's what this feud needs. You don't want to have Kevin Owens just beat Jericho in every encounter. These two guys have had too long of a storied rivalry, and how long this has been going on and how successful it was, how funny they were. You can't just have Kevin Owens just murder Jericho in every encounter. So have him trade some victories, swap the belt back and forth. In the end, you'll see Kevin Owens pop up powerbomb and pin Jericho, and Jericho can put on his leather pants and go sing in front of a bunch of people. Alexa Bliss, as I predicted, did win the Raw Women's title from Bayley. I predicted Sasha Banks coming out and turning heel. That did not happen, but Alexa Bliss winning did. And I just thought the way they were playing up that it was Bayley's hometown and her father was going to be in the front row and all this shit, that it would be a perfect time for a heel turn and Bayley to get screwed over and humiliated, and Alexa Bliss can steal a victory and steal the title. But Alexa Bliss basically beat her clean. Bayley had knocked her head pretty good on the ring post at one point, and then Alexa was able to nail her with a DDT and get the pin, and she's your new champion. Belt looks good on her. I like Alexa Bliss. There's a couple of things I would like her to be better at, but at the end of the day, I really don't have a problem with her being the Raw Women's Champion, and I wish her the best, and I guess we're going to have a rematch right away. I don't even know if they can hold that off until Extreme Rules. That's something we're probably going to see on Raw. In a title change that I predicted that did not happen, the Hardy Boys did retain their tag team titles by defeating Cesaro and Sheamus in a hell of a match. These four guys had a war. Jeff Hardy lost a tooth. Did you see that? He took a shot right to the face. They showed it in slow motion, and oh my god, it made me cringe. You could literally see the tooth flying out of Jeff Hardy's face. I was surprised he wasn't bleeding. I actually think maybe the tooth was just broken. That's kind of funny that I said that, but yeah, I think his tooth was kind of broken, kind of like what happened to The Miz in that match with AJ last year, whenever that was. So Jeff took a nasty shot, and he was probably in a lot of pain for the rest of that match, but he put on a fucking great fight. He ended up hitting Sheamus with a swanton bomb after a blind tag. Sheamus is going for the cover on Matt. Jeff Hardy comes off the top rope and nails Sheamus and gets the pin, and the Hardy Boys retain, and they've been teasing all of this good sportsmanship between the two teams, and I called this out in my predictions video. I didn't pick the result right, but I picked the heel turn right, and I saw that coming. I'm like, Cesaro and Sheamus should beat the the shit out of the Hardy Boys because we know WWE has most likely come to an agreement with TNA over the use of the broken characters or whatever. And then that was reported right after I said that in my commentary. It does look like there has been an agreement worked out between WWE and TNA, which I am not surprised about. WWE, if they want something, they're gonna get it. And TNA is gonna cave. And it probably took all of 45 minutes to get those morons to sign some sort of a fucking deal. So that shit is pretty much all worked out. All they have to figure out now is how to turn Matt and Jeff into these characters. Matt's been teasing it. We've been seeing it in interviews. We've been seeing it on his face with that crazy ass smile of his. So now, how do they break these guys? Maybe Sheamus and Cesaro beat them up so bad that they are now broken. Or maybe it's just Matt that becomes broken and they move Jeff back into singles. I mean, Jeff was a huge star in the WWE, multi-time WWE champion and world champion. It's not out of the realm of possibility that WWE might want to give him another run, even though he's got 2 strikes on his wellness policy. As long as they trust him enough, they might want to put Jeff back up into that main event position because he was a hell of a merchandise seller for them back then. I mean, he was over as hell. All the fans liked him. Men liked him. Women liked him. Young fans liked him. Old fans liked him. You know, casual fans liked him. Smarks liked him. Everybody had respect for Jeff Hardy despite all of his demons that he's had in the past. So maybe this can be redemption for him, and maybe Matt is the only one that's going to become broken. Or maybe Jeff gets involved at first and he becomes Brother Nero or whatever, and they do a couple of things, and then Jeff kind of breaks off and goes single. So who knows what WWE's plans for these guys are. It could be anything. The fans, I think, are going to mark out for this. During the tag team match, they were chanting obsolete. They were chanting Brother Nero. We heard all sorts of stuff from the fans. So you know when this character finally debuts, the fans are going to go pretty freaking crazy. So WWE, you know, take your time. Write some good shit for this. Don't just hotshot it. Don't just throw it on screen. Get something good for this and have some plans for it moving forward. And you're not just making the shit up week by the seat of your pants. Have some plans here and write it well and put some time and effort into this. This is an extremely over-angled. It could be incredibly money-making, provided that you just do it right and don't be stupid. So I hope that we see good things from Broken Matt here in the very near future. And I'm guessing now we're going to get another match. So hopefully the next step here is Sheamus and Cesaro will brutalize the Hardy Boys in a rematch as bad as they brutalized them after the match at Payback, because that was a pretty severe beatdown that the Hardy Boys took. And overall, it was just a really good tag match. So no complaints from Good Mike Work about the tag team match. No complaints either about the Cruiserweight match. I loved this. You know, every now and then, a DQ finish is fine. It's not that big of a deal. This was something that probably needed to be done because I was having a tough time picking a winner in this thing. On one hand, I was thinking, oh, Austin Aries needs to win. He put over Neville at WrestleMania. You know, he's over. He's a great character. He's good on the mic. He's just a good overall guy to have in the Cruiserweight division. And even though I want to see Neville continue his run, you know, if he just beats Aries straight up, then what does Aries do? Is he going to be wrestling TJ Perkins now every single week? I mean, remember Rich Swann? I barely remember that guy was even the Cruiserweight champion. We hardly see him anymore. That's probably my fault because I don't watch 205 Live as much as I should. But, you know, once WWE is done with a Cruiserweight champion, they're done with him. TJ and Kendrick and Swann haven't been anywhere near that title since they held it. So I didn't know who the hell to pick. But what they did is the two guys go out there and have a kick-ass match together. I loved the match. And then Aries has got Neville locked in his submission hold, and Neville like grabs a hold of the referee and gets himself intentionally disqualified, saving his title while not beating Aries at the same time. Furthers the feud. We can get a rematch now. I don't know what kind of stipulation you can put in a Cruiserweight match if these guys do something at the next pay-per-view, but, you know, maybe they can do something like that. Ladder match. Who knows? But I like the fact that it extended this feud because it's good. These guys work well together, and they're two of my favorite Cruiserweights in the division right now. And on top of that, it's awesome heel heat for Neville. That's what you want out of a heel champion. I mean, Neville is doing a great job as a badass heel, and now he's doing underhanded tricks to save his title from time to time. You know, he wasn't a pussy. He was having a hard, grueling fought match with Austin Aries. He took the cheap way out. That's what heels do. Builds heat, no problem with it at all. I don't like a pay-per-view full of DQs, don't get me wrong. We shouldn't have that shit happen all the time. But I had a few fans complaining to me on Twitter, thinking that the finish was lame or whatever, and I'm like, God damn, there's 1,000 pay-per-views a year. You know, we get so many. If we get a DQ finish from time to time, that's not the end of the world. It ain't gonna kill us. And in this particular situation, I thought a DQ finish fit the feud. So overall, when you look at the results written down, just like I'm doing right now on my computer screen, I'm like, shit, all these results are great. You know, what more did we want out of this pay-per-view? You know, what could they have given us? I mean, to me, it was just, you know, fans are complaining about the pay-per-view. It's just because we have too many pay-per-views. Not all of them can feel special. Not all of them can feel big. I don't think the fans really took Payback seriously. We certainly weren't taking it seriously on social media from what I saw on Twitter, and I'm included in that. I was making fun of the show left and right. right? Half of my tweets were jokes. So, we were all kind of just kicking back and tripping out on wrestling. But, at the end of it, we were like, holy crap, we actually got a good show. And we got outcomes that we wanted. And we got outcomes that pleased the fans. That's rare. And like I said earlier, enjoy this shit while it lasts because we're likely to get some opposite outcomes at the next pay-per-view. So anyway, overall, I thought Payback was a good show, decent show. I don't know what to grade it. I don't know, B plus, I guess because of the outcome. I mean, the outcomes of matches and the fans' hatred of Roman Reigns can show you how easily a pay-per-view can go from great to shitty with one match. Because I guarantee you, had Roman Reigns beat Braun Strowman, anybody that put up a Twitter poll, and I forgot to put one up. I'll have to look at some other YouTubers' Twitter polls to see what their listeners thought of Payback. But if I were to put up a poll and Roman Reigns beat Braun Strowman, I guarantee you it would be 98% negative, 2% positive. Guaranteed. But because Braun Strowman won, the majority of the fans, I'm going to assume, thought this was a pretty damn good pay-per-view, and I feel that way too. Oh, by the way, how can I get out of here without mentioning this little tidbit? How great do you think Great Balls of Fire is going to be? Holy shit, is that for real? I thought it was a joke. I thought it was the fucking Onion. I thought it was Kayfabe News reporting this shit. No, that's the actual name of the pay-per-view. These geniuses, these apes that sit back there and come up with shit, thought that Great Balls of Fire would be a good name for a pay-per-view. That's the dumbest thing. I mean, we've had some dumb pay-per-view names, but this might be the dumbest. It seems so incredibly uncreative. Like, this is the best they could have come up with. What about resurrecting an old pay-per-view? What about Armageddon? What about Unforgiven? What about Taboo Tuesday or whatever they changed it into? What about Vengeance? What about No Way Out? Any of these old pay-per-views that we all know and love, anything is better than this. So, Great Balls of Fire, whatever. I don't even know which brand gets this pile of shit. Is it SmackDown or is it Raw? I don't know. Either way, I don't know the point. What the fuck? What does that even mean, Great Balls of Fire? It's a song. I know that. Are there going to be actual fireballs at this pay-per-view? Is Kane going to be involved in this somehow? Anyway, that's ridiculous. That's ludicrous. But what's good about it is the WWE is hearing about it from the fans. I mean, everybody who's ripping this thing apart on Twitter, and the memes and the jokes and everything are just going crazy. So tweet to the WWE and tell them to change the name of this pay-per-view. I know it's a dumb thing for the fans to nitpick about. Who cares what the name of the pay-per-view is as long as the pay-per-view's good, but it's just so dumb sounding. All of us wrestling fans, we're all guilty of rejecting new things. None of us ever like the new belt designs. Nobody ever likes the new iPhone. It's just the way society is. So no matter what WWE came up with, if they're going to come up with a new pay-per-view name, we would probably hate it regardless. But this one just seems incredibly overly stupid. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm out of here. Just wanted to give you a quick rundown on a few opinions on Payback. Thought it was a good show and thought it was booked well, and don't have a whole hell of a lot of complaints about it. So it'll be interesting to take to Twitter tonight, take to YouTube, and look around and see what everybody else is saying, and if it turns out that I have the same opinion as them or not. I hope that I do. So thanks again for listening. I should be up here this week, normal time. I'll talk about Raw, talk about SmackDown, and yes, I'm still working on all those other projects. I gotta finish them up. I'm so busy right now, but the WrestleMania Memories commentary, that re-upload, it is so close to being done. I just gotta find the time to dedicate a few more hours to it, and it's gonna be done. So thank you everybody for your patience. You guys are awesome. Trust me, I'm working as fast as I can. I do have a life on the side. I do have an incredibly hard job, and I also like to eat, sleep, hang out with friends, walk around, breathe, take showers, shit like that. So I can't be sitting in front of the computer 24/7, but I am doing my best. So thank you to everyone for your patience. So that's it for me. I'm out of here. Leave me all your comments, your opinions, your thoughts on Payback, where they can go in the future with everybody involved, particularly Roman and Strowman. And I'll be interested to see how you guys like the show. So take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you in just a few days. Until next time, peace.